Good evening. My name is Silva. I'm the team leader of Wellness by Design. Today, we'll be presenting Vitale, the Health Monitor. This is
Phil Martinez.
My name is Galiana.
And my name is Gustavo, and I will begin the introduction to the demonstration. Okay, so I'm here to introduce Vitale the Health Monitor. We wanted to design something that we believe would be very useful. And in this day and age, we suffer from a lot of health conditions that could have been prevented. So we believe this would be very important for preventive medicine. Let me tell you what the system consists of. We have a blood pressure monitor, we have a heart rate monitor, and a pulse oximeter. We want to be able to measure the vitals so that you can have control and you can see what your body is going through throughout the day. We want to locate a pill dispenser also onto the system because we believe that the pill dispenser would be useful in reminding you when to take your medications and to do it in a very easy fashion. We want to make sure that this system is very user-friendly. The reason why we want to make it user-friendly is because we know that there's many people that are not very technically savvy, and we want them to come up to this machine and we want them to feel welcomed and comfortable. We want this machine to activate automatically. The reason why we want to do that is because it helps making the system to be a lot easier to use, and people won't have to worry about what they're going to start first. We want to make sure there's a communication network on the system. The reason why is when you measure your vitals, you won't have to leave your house to take it to the doctor. In case you have a problem, you can send it to him via a network. We want LabVIEW to be the software that we use so we can capture the data, organize it, and be able to transfer the data. This project we believe would cost around $1,500. That's our planned budget. We want to make sure also that there's the equipment chassis is up to size. We know that this has to be a very general size for equipment because many people have to be able to use it, whether you're heavy or whether you're light. But one of our main concerns is safety, and we believe safety is the key aspect in anything that promotes good health. This design is proposed for one person to use at a time. The reason why we want to do that is because we want one person to be on top of their own vitals, and they want their pill dispenser to be accustomed to their uses. We want the internet network, of course, and that is how we can transfer data to a doctor's office or the healthcare provider for that patient or the user. We want to be able to input commands, and we're going to do that via a keyboard. We want the screen display to display the signals to the patient in a way that they can understand, in a way that they feel comfortable. Now, of course, there's a limitation in the patient's size. If a patient's arm is too big, the blood pressure cuff will not be able to fit securely around his arm, and it won't be able to measure the pressure properly. Also, this is a stationary device. We know that Vitale is a system that's going to be localized in your home near a network, and it won't be moving around much, and it's going to contain many components that will satisfy your needs. We also want to make sure that there's a protection of information. In this country and in the world, we want to make sure that privacy is to the utmost importance of our design. Now, I want to go ahead and introduce you to the next person that will speak about needs feasibility analysis.
So, how did we determine that Vitale is a feasible design? Well, we conducted an interview with our respective mentor, Dr. Gustavo Roig. We asked him questions under two criteria, engineering and marketing. He suggested that we should include the pill dispenser into our design, since this adds value to it, in addition to the life and death determination for the patient. Now, we conducted a survey to the potential users, which most of them described Vitale to be efficient, since it has all the equipment stored into one chassis, and most of these users would like for their respective insurance companies to pay for the cost of Vitale. Now, our feasibility analysis included schedule, legal, resource, economic, technical, marketing, operational, and cultural. Under schedule, we would like for our design to be accomplished before Senior Design 2 next semester. Under legal feasibility, we took into consideration the IEEE safety standards and HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Accountability and Portability Act. For resources, we took into consideration whether we have the sufficient amount of items or sensors to accomplish this assignment, or whether we have or we're capable with the knowledge we currently possess from our engineering background. From an economic standpoint, we consider whether we do have enough monetary funds to accomplish this assignment. From a technical perspective, we took into consideration whether the actual designs do exist, the actual components do exist, and we won't have to take time into designing these, such as taking us away from the actual design of Vitale. From a marketing perspective, well, we took into consideration whether Vitale would be marketable in a global economy. And operational and cultural are defined as whether a Vitale would be useful to the potential user. Now, Vitale is intended for a user which demands a conveniently organized device with multiple features and data management capability, and everybody wants to be healthy. So Vitale promotes health awareness. From a risk analysis point of view, we took into consideration these risks. We gave them the following risk classes, the likelihood of these occurring, and the risk assessment. As you may see, most of these risks are either class 1, with only 1, 2, and 3 class 2 risks. The likelihood of these occurring are most likely not to occur, and although if they are possible to occur, they're of a low risk assessment, making Vitale a low risk design. We'll continue our presentation with operating environment. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Tom Galiana, and I will speak to you about the operating environment, the intended users, the intended uses, and the background of the Vitale machine. What is the operating environment of the Vitale machine? The operating environment is ideally at room temperature, inside of a room, closed off from the outside of environment, near a power outlet, and near a network connection. Who is the intended user of the Vitale machine? The intended user is an individual who cannot easily navigate medical devices. There is also a potential user, which is an individual who will use the Vitale machine as a means of preventive care. What are the intended uses of the Vitale? The intended uses of the Vitale are that it measures vital signals, manage data, dispense medication, and that it not replace medical staff. What is the background of the Vitale? The background of the Vitale is a description of different devices that has functionality similar to that of the Vitale. The first device is the Philips Heart Start MRX monitor defibrillator. The functionality that this device has, which is similar to that of the Vitale, is that it measures blood pressure, measures heart rate, doesn't dispense medication. It sends information off over the network and displays information out to the output. Next is this is the LabVIEW software, which shows a block diagram and a front panel image of software written in LabVIEW that manages information received from the blood pressure cuff while worn by the user. Software will make the measurements necessary and output them to the monitor so the user can utilize them. And lastly, a pulse oximeter. What this device does is measure blood saturation, oxygen saturation in the blood by shining a beam of light through the fingertip. Now we will move on to the intellectual property considerations of this presentation.
Hello, I'm Philip Martinez. I will be introducing some intellectual property considerations, specifications for the Vitale unit, and closing the presentation. Now, the system backup that we have behind us is a system very similar to the Vitale's storage backup process. However, this system only utilizes 2 forms of backup, full and incremental, while the Vitale system will utilize 4 different kinds of backup: full, incremental, real-time, and selective. Full refers to storing all the data gathered. Incremental only makes certain changes to the data. Real-time describes a method which changes the data as it is collected, and selective only takes certain portions of data collected and changes them in the storage unit. Now, very similar to the Vitale unit, we have this other medical device here. This medical device is a monitor which takes in vital information. Now, the difference between this system and the Vitale system is that this system will utilize a barcode which is used to identify individuals using the machine, which is many individuals rather than just one like Vitale will use. And it makes an assessment based on predetermined information. The Vitale system will make assessments, but not based on predetermined information. Now, the Vitale will introduce a pill dispenser unit, which is very different from any attempt ever made. This system behind me is a pill dispenser unit which uses a microcontroller unit and a timer in order to dispense medication. While this is very similar to our unit will instead utilize an alarm system as well, which will alert family members of when medication has been taken or when it has not been taken. It will also alert the user of when the medication needs to be taken at a specific time. Now, going into some specifications for the Vitale unit, we have determined that the Vitale unit will utilize USB connections. This is because USB is the most practical and cost-effective manner in which to transfer data. It will more or less have speeds of 12 megabytes per second. Now, the chassis has been determined to be approximately 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, which is approximately the size of a blood pressure monitor system which will be found in a pharmacy. However, it will be much less weighty. Now, the goal is to have an accuracy rate of 90%. This is an accuracy rate which we feel comfortable with and we will constantly work forward to achieve. We have also determined that we will utilize 2 blood pressure cuffs. 2 blood pressure cuffs because it is necessary in order to take a step forward in preventative medicine. Studies have shown that preventative medicine have shown that 2 blood pressure cuffs have a higher detection rate of hypertension and other blood-related diseases. The system has been determined to absorb around 500 watts in its usage, but this is a rough estimate and true calculations will be made at a later date. The pill dispenser unit has been determined to work on time and has been developed as such. And the at-market cost has been determined to be around $500 to $600 before it has been optimized for market value. We would like to share thanks to our mentor, Dr. Gustavo Roig, our professor, Galiana, the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, and FIU. Now, to close the presentation, we talked about the problem statement, how we determine project objectives. We talked about assumptions and limitations. We talked about needs analysis and how we determine the certain functions of the Vitale system. We talked about feasibility and whether this project would be possible or not. We talked about risks and what risks would get in the way and what weight they had. We talked about marketability, and we talked about operating environment and intended uses, each of which have its own bearing on the functionality of Vitale. We talked about intended users as well, individuals who will be able to use the system and who will not be able to use the system, and who this system is intended for. We talked about background and other attempts to create systems such as Vitale. And we talked about intellectual property considerations, such as other systems which are very similar to ours and how we will not infringe upon them. And we talked about specifications. Now, I would like to close and say that Vitale is something that we feel is really special and we would like to bring into the market as soon as possible. And it is something that is going to be completely new and different and will shape the way that individuals look at health. So, choose your future. Choose Vitale.